Everyone's okay with that. If you don't want to be sort of recorded, then just turn your video off and sit behind your screen there. So excellent. Right, well, good to see everybody. I think Sophie and Darren, this is your first one of these. The other guys have done a few. So for you two, this is our little series of workshops that happen every quarter. So we rotate round. This is the last one of the series, which is customer mastery, and then we'll start again back in the new year. So really, what we're looking at here is how do we retain our clients? How do we get our clients to stay longer and actually spend more, because they're the real value in our businesses. It's much easier to get more out of our existing clients than it is to go and get new clients. So really going to be looking at those things today. So before we start, what I'd like you to just have a think about and just take a couple of notes. You should have a chat box sort of available to you. So if you want to just type in the chat box, what is the key thing you like to get out of today? So if there was one thing you'd like to get around about your getting more out of existing clients, what would that one thing be? So just take a few minutes, have a think about it, because always when you come into these workshops, if you've got some clarity what you want to get out, it helps me to understand, make sure I'm going to cover it, but also make sure you pick up the relevant parts as we go through the topics today. So just bung those into the chat box if you would. So recommendations to new potential clients. I might just need a bit more detail on that, because this is all about existing clients, Darren, rather than new business. We do a sales and marketing, which is all about new clients. But what we could do is referrals. This is about referrals, that side of things. Word of mouth referrals. Yeah, cool, good. Get them to spend more and retain. Yep, excellent. So we'll definitely cover a few things on that. We had anything from Brian? Sophie, what would you like? Angie, upselling services. Yep. Yeah, make sure you use all of what we have to offer to take advantage of the full service. Cool. Yeah, we'll be definitely covering that. And you still typing, Brian? You do me an essay, are you? I will come back to you, Brian. I think it's going to be a lot of stuff that you've got there. But so really, this is what we're looking for in coming out of our workshop today. So really be thinking about those. But I'm pretty sure I'm going to cover everything you've covered there. So the way I start all my workshops is my little formula for life success. So whatever we want in life, this formula must stack up. Be, who do I need to be? Do, what do I need to actually do? My activity. Have, what I want to have. So our have is our dreams and goals. Our be is our attitude, knowledge and skills, and our do is our activities, our actions, and what we actually do. So out of those three, I'll always ask you, which is the most important? Brian, which is the most important out of the three?
Out of the three, what you got on the screen now?
Yep. Which is the most important of those three?
I think I'd know this by now, wouldn't you?
I would hope.
Yeah, if we give you a different answer, do we get a different presentation?
Nope.
Dreams and goals.
The dreams and goals. Cool. So we've got to have clarity what we want to have in order to then know who do we need to be and what do we need to do. Okay, so when we come in about our customer mastery and what I want to get out of my customers, we've got to have some clarity around what we want. And what happens, I find that it's much easier with sales and marketing. Is I want a new customer, I want a new lead. You know, it's much easier to get your numbers and your smart goals around new business. It's more difficult when it comes to your existing business, but it's equally as important. We've got to really think about this. So, you know, if I can imagine it, you can achieve it. If you can dream it, you can become it. It's really getting that clarity of thought around this. So the one thing that we need to start thinking about is structure of how we grow our profits in our business. So for those that have been on our workshops before, you'll know about our 5 ways. So our 5 ways to grow our profits: lead generation, conversion rate, number of transactions, average transaction value, and profit margins. Those multiplied together equals our profit. What we're looking at here is these 2 here. Okay, our number of transactions. Let me get my pen. Okay, so our number of transactions in here, yep, equals our repeat business. So we do new business here, we do in our sales. So this is our marketing workshop and this is our sales workshop. And then this is the one that we do in our customer mastery. Okay, so you've got to be thinking about, when we're starting to grow our business in these terms. Otherwise, if you're just thinking about growing your revenues, growing your profits, you're looking too big a picture and not clear enough of what the strategies you're going to actually work on. So the first thing we've really got to be thinking is, if we want to get more out of our customers, what is our ideal customer? What do they actually look like? So the way that I get people to do this is to really think about your customers in 4 different types. So A customers, your B's, your C's, and your D's. So your A's are your awesome clients. So go back through your database, look at the clients that have bought from you over the last few years, and identify those that are the best. Yeah, that they pay on time, they buy all your services. Yeah, you like working with them. They give you good work. They don't quibble about price. Yeah, whatever the factors are that make them an awesome client for you, write those down and then grade all of your clients according to that. Now, A, B, C, D, 1 to 10, gold, silver, bronze. Yeah, it doesn't matter what scoring system you use, but actually start to identify, what are your awesome clients? Who are your basic ones? Which ones could do better? And which ones, really you should be sort of, getting rid of. So we want these ones up here. We want these awesome and basic ones that we could actually, get the basic ones to become awesome. The could do better to become basic. But there's no point in spending any time or effort in these people down here. So actually categorizing our database, it might be a CRM system that you're running. It might be just from Sage or your accounts package, or it might be a ledger system. But somehow you've got to be looking and thinking, right, if I've looked at my clients, which ones are going to be the best ones? Because these ones up here are going to naturally buy from you more often. Okay, these are the ones that are going to spend more. These people down here aren't going to buy anything from you. So there's no point in spending any time, effort, or money in actually getting them to try and do more. So we've got to be thinking, right, who do I want? And when we transpose that, because we do this in our marketing, if we know what these people look like, then they would be going our marketing plan to actually attract more of those clients. Okay, we'd actually be asking for more of this type in our marketing, because we want more of these people. We don't want to attract these people down here. They're too much like hard work. So that's really what we want to do, is get rid of the dross, and let's focus on the good ones in our business. And the reality often is, we call it the 80-20. Okay, so the Pareto rule: 80% of your business will come from 20% of your customers. So therefore, our customer retention is really around those 20%. They're the ones that we want to work with, not the whole database. Okay, so the more we can identify, the more we can actually focus on putting our efforts into the ones we actually want. And then, in order to find those, you know, think about the think about the ideal customer in, you know, is it sales volumes, is it promptness, payment, number of transactions, the type of products they buy. What is it that they're actually categorize them as an awesome client? Yeah, and actually have that as your categories to score them, yeah, and to decide which ones are the best ones. So whatever it is for you, write them down, look at the list, and just make sure that you go through that process. So that's really is number one. Oh, okay, what's happened there? What's going on there? And then we've got to bring our numbers back to our budgets and our cash, you know, our budgets and our forecasts. So for the next, you know, for 2021, let's say we're budgeting for 2021, and let's say we're budgeting for £1 million of sales. If we just go into our next year with I want £1 million of sales, it's very difficult to actually gain that. Certainly when we look at the 5 ways, you know, leads, conversion, etc. But also what we want to be looking at this and saying, right, how much of that £1 million target are we going to get from our existing client base? And how much of that do we need to focus on our new clients? So not just a £1 million sales target for next year, but it might be, right, well, I want £500,000 from existing clients and I want £500,000 from new business. It might be, again, Pareto, 80-20, it might be 800,000 from existing, 200,000 from new. If you've got products or services you're selling that are one-offs, then it's going to be predominantly new business. You know, I know Sophie's selling high-end kitchens. So if you sell one kitchen this year, you're unlikely to sell a kitchen to those people next year. But what you can do is sell them other services, you know, upgrades and things like that. So you might want to put some of the budget in there. So you've got to understand your business model. Are you going to get more work from existing clients, or you're going to get more work from new business? I would always want as much work as I could from my existing client base, because I've got an acquisition cost to acquire them, and then I need to be able to sell to them again and again and again. And that's a better business model than get them once, sell to them, and then next year I've got to get exactly the same number, if not more people again and again and again, which is quite hard work. And then from that, then we can set our budgets. Okay, then we can set our sales targets for, you know, what we want from our existing client base. So that's the first thing to do is really sort of look into 2021 or whenever your sort of sales cycle or your financial cycle works from, and say, right, I need this amount of business from my existing client base. And I would probably take it almost a step further from that, which is to look at this and say, from here, if I do nothing, okay, so if I just sat on my arse and did no marketing, no customer service stuff to these people, what value would I get just in repeat business? And if you think about it, for a lot of clients, there might be probably 20%, yeah, to 50% of the target you'll get just by doing nothing, because you'll just get people just keep coming back to you. Now, it might happen for a year or 2 years, but it will slowly dwindle off. But certainly for next year, it might stay at that. You might decide you get nothing from that. And then you'd say, right, well now, so if I did nothing, if I got, let's say 50% would come in, I've got to do something, so be proactive, yeah, in order to get the other 50%. And that's when it dictates, so what are we going to do? So what are our strategies to actually drive that? New clients, that's basically is your sales and marketing, which we do in other workshops. Okay, so really think, what is the financial goal that I want to get from my existing clients? If I do nothing, what will I get? Therefore, if I do something, it should be more than what I've actually got. Now, I did this exercise with a, they're about £8 million. Well, no, one of the companies was £4 million turnover, and they'd set a target for next year of, I think, about a 5% improvement. So it's around about another £1 million of, sorry, £500,000 of turnover they were going to put onto that. And I took them through this exercise, and I said, look, what are we doing to our existing client base? How can we actually gain more sales? And we went through this, and we actually found there was in effect, nearly a £2 million uplift in new sales to existing clients, because they've never marketed to their existing client base before. They just waited for those sales to come in. So they turned around, rather than having a 5% improvement in their sales target, it ended up over 20% improvement in their sales targets. So this is what we've got to be thinking. If, whenever somebody comes in and says, oh, my sales target is last year, or last period plus a percentage, that's the wrong way to calculate a target. You've got to go through this exercise and say, right, what could we get out of our existing client base, and what could we get out of our new business? And then that becomes your target. Otherwise, potentially you'll set goals that you can't achieve, or you'll leave money on the table because you're setting your targets too low, and therefore you're not driving towards achieving them. So getting clarity what you want out of your clients is the first stage. Okay, being really clear what you want to get out of it. Then you've got to start looking and say, right, the next stage is, what do I need to be? So what is my mentality and my learning that I need in order to achieve this? So your beliefs are something you hold to be true. Now, for many businesses, when I come into them and sort of say, look, what do you believe about your customer? What are 5 negative beliefs that you have around customers? So just want you to have a think and just write 1 or 2 down in the chat box as we go. Okay, and we'll just see if there's some similarities between you all. So what are some beliefs, negative beliefs you have around customers? Okay, so they think, okay, so you think that they think you're trying to rip them off. That's an interesting one, because there's a, your perception of what they're thinking, can actually stop you thinking the right things. So the lack of understanding, you don't think they don't understand. Too demanding, they want something for nothing, leaving it to the end. They're not really being proactive with it. You think they can't afford it. Okay, so a lot of people think, customers are a pain in the arse. They're always contacting me when I don't want to be contacted. We always remember the negatives of customer complaints. You could have 100 customers, and 2 of those 100 will complain, and that's your focus. So you then overwrite those 2 customers to the other 98. Okay, and this is how our brains are actually wired. Is if I've got 100 people, if one person doesn't like me, my perception is that the 100 don't like me. Okay, it's the way that animals fit into to packs. If one person doesn't like a particular animal, it's fear it's going to be rejected from the pack. So if we have these negative thoughts around our customers, these frustrations sometimes, then what can happen is these can actually hold us back. They can actually set us down a wrong path, based on 1 or 2 exceptions, whereas 98, 99% of them are nothing like that. So as you go through your categorizing of your clients, this is why the ABCs is so important, because it actually focuses your mind on what makes a good customer. And if you start thinking, right, those customers are good customers, I want more of those, you're going to be more likely to spend your time actually working with them. And if I come back to, let me just come back a stage. If I come back to here and say, you know, if I want the, let's say my sales target was to get 500,000 out of my existing client base and 500,000, okay, out of new business. How much would I put into my sales and marketing budget in order to gain 500,000 of new business? Just what would be a number off the top of your head? So I want 500,000 new business. How much would I put into my advertising, my marketing, my sales team, all of that in order to drive 500,000 new business?
5%.
5%. Yep. Cool. 10%. Yeah. So you might put, let's say you put 50K into it. Yeah. So 50K to get 500,000. And if we looked at this and said, do nothing, I get 250, and do something, I get 250. How much should I put into my existing clients?
5%.
10%. So if it was 10% here, yeah, I should have put at least £25,000 in looking after my existing clients. Now, how many businesses do you know actually have a budget to look after their existing clients? Very, very few. Yeah, what are we actually doing to actually drive more business from our existing client base? We go after the sexy stuff. This is all the sexy stuff. Yeah, but we don't put that money into that existing business in the same way. We don't have the strategies for it. We don't have, and certainly don't put the money into it. And on the basis that it's 6 times easier, yeah, to sell to these people than it is these people, then potentially if we put the same amount of money that we would do in our sales and marketing to our existing clients, we should get a 6 times better return on investment. Okay, and if you were being miserly, you'd say, well, actually, I only need to put a 1/6 of this in. Yeah, so what's that? Probably about 7K. Okay, so but am I even doing that? £500 a month into my existing clients? And this is where people go wrong. It takes a little bit more time and effort. Marketing is generally easier, but it's more expensive. But when we come into our existing clients, we have to be a little bit more creative as we make it work. So just watch those negative beliefs. Okay, think about your customers. They are going to really help you drive your business forwards. If you do have the negative beliefs around them, and certainly if you're controlling a sales team or account managing team, then you've got to make sure that they see the existing client base as people to help, to serve, and they are the way that we can actually achieve our sales goals. So once you've got clarity with what we want to have, we understand that our beliefs will dictate our success. So if we've got some negative beliefs, we've got to work on those. Then we come into, right, now, what do I need to do? So what do I actually physically need to do to get my customers to come back? And a way to look at this, in the same way as we've got the 5 ways, but looking at it in a slightly different way, is what we call our ladder of loyalty. So in our ladder of loyalty, we start down here with our prospects. Okay, so if we've got our suspects, so down here we've got our suspects. So we want to convert our suspects to prospects, which is lead generation. So this is marketing. Okay, so I want to market to the general world in order to find these prospects to bring in. Then I want to sell to them, which is my conversion rate, and to become a shopper. So a shopper is somebody who buys from you once. If I can get you to buy again, then you become a customer. Okay, and if I get you to buy again and again and again, then gradually you become a member of our organization. Okay, so what we're looking at here is in our repeat business, how do I get a shopper up towards becoming a member, an advocate? So an advocate is somebody, if I ask you, you'll give me a referral. Yeah. If I can take you to a raving fan, then I don't even have to ask you. You just provide me referrals. So here, these people up here are not only spending more, but they're actually generating me good qualified leads. And that to me is a sign of that sort of A-grade client, is somebody who will actually, if I ask them or at their own sort of fruition, they will actually drive more business to me. So we've got to start thinking is, right, how do we get somebody who buys from us once up to here? Now, down at this level, customer and shopper, there's no real loyalty. Okay, there's no loyalty to staying with me. If somebody comes along with a better price, yeah, or is more convenient, then they'll actually go with that next person. So this is all about the logical part of sales, and this is all about emotion. Okay, so we've got to have, the logic has got to back up why people want to buy from us, but we want to start tapping into the emotion of that as well. And one of the best people that I've come across that really nailed this sort of transition from, you know, a shopper up to an advocate raving fan was a guy called Ron Kaufman. So this is Ron. He's written a book, really good book called Up Your Service. So I've one of my clients has taken this on, and he's now given it to his entire workforce, and they're all working to the essence of what he talks about in this book. So Ron has trained Singapore Airlines. So, and if you know, Singapore Airlines has won the world's best airline for, I don't know, years on years for customer service. And he came over and did some training with us about his method of doing this, and I liked it so much. To me, it just made total sense of what we've actually got to do. So he said there are 6 levels of customer service. So the first level is a criminal level of customer service. So give me an example of a criminal level of customer service. So Darren, do you want to unmute yourself and just tell me what a criminal level of service would be?
Yeah, get it all the time. People just don't come back to you. Lack of communication.
So I would say it's slightly worse than that.
Okay. Can't think of anything offhand. Sort of promising something and then not doing it. Yeah.
Promising you something, taking your money, and then not delivering.
Yeah.
So it's basically, you know, these people should be locked up. So down at this level is a complete disregard for the customer. Yeah, I'm just in it for me. I just want to get your money, and I don't care about you at all. So I would guess that none of us are really acting in here. You know, we don't play at this level, and yeah, and these are the people you see on Road Traders and stuff like that. The next level, though, is a basic level of customer service. Okay, so it's not as bad as criminal, but it's the base need. So let's put this in a bit of put an analogy into this. So if we were a taxi, okay, so we run a taxi. If I was doing a criminal level of service, Brian, you there? Yeah. What would my taxi do?
At the criminal level?
Yeah.
You say, yeah. Not turn up usually.
But if it was really criminal, I mean, if it doesn't turn up, you don't pay it. You know, it's just bad service. But if it was a criminal level of service,
I would say take the long route around.
charge
you more.
Take the long route round, charge you more,
yeah.
Drop you off at the wrong place, take your money, not pick you up. You know, nick your luggage. that side of things, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, none of us are going to do that. So what if we were now into a basic level? So a basic level of taxi. So Sophie, do you want to tell me what your taxi would be like if you just gave a basic level of customer service?
They wouldn't take my bags from me to put in the boot. I'd do it myself.
Yep.
I'd get no friendly conversation, just A to B.
Yep, just A to B. Yeah. What state would your taxi be in?
Yeah, dirty, not looked after.
Yeah.
Does the job, but not in great repair.
Exactly. Okay. So you see this quite often. Okay. So it's almost like people. Oh, God, what's happened? Bloody. Lost my whiteboard. Where's it gone? I thought it wasn't my whiteboard, was it? Close that. I pushed the wrong button. There we go. You got that back? No, I can't see you.
No.
Right, there we go. So we see this sort of basic level of customer service a lot, where we just, you're giving the bare minimum of service here. There's no real care with what we're actually dealing with. So we want to actually avoid this, because it's almost like we're just taking the money, and people aren't going to come back. They're not going to seek us out, and they're not going to spend more money or stay with us. Then we move into an expected level of customer service. Okay, so Ranjit, what would you put down as an expected level? Are you there, or you've gone off on the phone? I think he's nodded off. Damien, are you there, or are you gone as well?
No, I'm here.
You're there. Cool. So what would be an expected level of service for our taxi firm?
To do the job.
Yep.
Make you feel comfortable while you're doing it.
Yep.
And for a fair price.
Yep. Yep. So yeah, a fair price. Yeah, reasonable levels of comfort. Yeah. So this is really what I would call the bare minimum. Okay. So if we're not playing at this level, an expected level, then we're not really going to get those customers back. So if you look at the budget airlines, the budget end of the market, the Audis, the Lidl, they're trying to move away from this basic into play at this sort of level here. So we meet expectations, but we certainly don't go beyond expectations. Now we'll get some form of loyalty here, but only on one. There's one reason we get loyalty. What's that one reason?
Low cost.
Price. Yeah. So we get loyalty purely because we can be the cheapest. Now, if you can be the cheapest, then you can play at this game. Okay. If you can't be the cheapest, you don't want to be the cheapest, then if you stay here, you're going to lose your customers to cheaper people. So we've got to start looking beyond here. So therefore, our focus is really about coming up to this level here. So, and the next level, the fourth level, is a desired level of customer service. So this is very much now a factor of the person we're selling to. So what do they desire? What would they actually be looking for within our taxi? So if we take back to our taxi now, and Brian, what would you say the desired level of taxi would be? What would our taxi look like inside?
What I'm thinking at the moment is more like the taxi being a Bentley rather than a Ford Escort.
Yeah, I mean that might be would that be? You'd get a desire would be a Bentley, but it would certainly be the Mercedes level, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So we'd be looking sort of, it'd be lovely to have a Merc, maybe a later model. Yeah, clean, really clean, a really polite chauffeur. Somebody will take our bags. A booking app, something that is going to really make our lives easier.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we're now moving away from price, okay, into an emotional state. Okay. So this is now about a feeling that we get when we actually buy. So we're moving into feelings, sort of what I call right brain, into emotionals rather than into logic. This is all logic based down here. Okay, this is all logic. This is all about emotional up here. And if we take this to the next level, then we move into what we call surprising level. Okay, so Ranjit, what would be a surprising level of service with our taxi?
Not sure. I think probably going back to what Brian said with the Bentley.
Yeah, I think it would be, that would be sort of, this would be the Bentley level. Okay, what would be in the back in our Bentley?
In the back.
Yeah.
Like whiskey. Yeah.
Yeah, there might. Yeah, there'd be some drinks. Yeah, there might
drinks.
be some drinks in there. Maybe a newspaper.
Yeah.
Something to read. Maybe there's some some nice good music.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're moving away now because we've moved away here from what I've paid for. Yeah, is to go from A to B. Now from here, did these guys get me from A to B? Yeah. Did these guys? Yeah. So like, all of these guys get me from A to B. So A to B isn't what's driving that customer service, that customer loyalty. It's the other things. It's what we call critical non-essentials, the little extras that we do around the actual what people have paid for. I've paid here to go from A to B, and that's what I've got. Here I get a little bit more. I get what they're expected, what they're desiring, and this goes beyond what they were thinking. And if I can take them into the 6th level, into an amazing level of customer service, this is what happens at this level. Now people start talking about it. Okay, they start talking about you never believe my taxi journey. It's hard to believe, what happened. Bloke turned up in this, Rolls Royce, red carpet treatment, looked after me amazingly. Yeah, he got me to A to B, but that's not the bit I'm talking about. We're talking about the peripheries around that service that I'm actually getting. So if we can take people up to this level, and I'm not saying that this works when we need to do this for all of our clients, all of our business, but if we have this mentality of playing in this part rather than down at this part, then not only do we keep those clients for longer, but they're more likely to come back and spend more and actually talk about us. And at this level, we get referrals. You've just got to use my taxi driver. Don't use anybody else. You've got to use this guy because he just takes care of everything. So we've got to be thinking in our businesses is about, once we know our A, B's and C's for our A grade clients, are we working with them at the higher level, at the desired, surprising, amazing level, or are we down at the basic and expected level. Okay, so we're really looking at our client base and saying, do we want to build a business on this? You know, you can build a business down here. So I'm not saying that you can't do this, but you've got to be based around this, and therefore you've got to keep the price, because that's the only thing is keeping people with you. No other reason. And as soon as somebody comes in with a cheaper price, they'll be off, no matter what you say, what you do. So looking at going back, and this is why I say you've got to have that budget of how much you want to spend per customer in order to keep them and to move them up here. Yeah, because, and also if I keep them up here, how much more are they going to be worth to me? Because if you don't get that ratio right, then you'll either be overspending and it'll just be too expensive. You'll be driving a Rolls Royce, giving bottles of champagne out in the back and charging £5 to to do a taxi ride. Well, that model is never going to work. But if you're pushing up into a higher level and dealing with that client who's willing to pay £100, £200 for it, then you can actually build a business around it. So that's really what we've got to be looking at, is how do I move them up that ladder of loyalty? So from shopper to customer to member, but that transition is really about playing at this level, desired, surprising and amazing levels of customer service, as opposed to down at the basic and expected. So this takes more thought, more effort mentally, and some money as well. This doesn't. Okay, when you've got to decide where you want to play. So once we know where people are and we're actually looking to achieve this, I think I've got this the wrong way around actually. Then we want to set up our VIP club. So another way to look at it is those A-grade clients, if they were going to become members, if they were going to have this outstanding value of service, what would they get as part of the VIP club? What would make them feel really special about staying with us? And then we put a package around that and we offer that to them. Okay, not to everybody. It should only be to your 20%, top 20% clients. And we've had some where it's invite only. You're invited to join it. Think about credit cards. When they put you on the sort of the old black cards and platinum cards. I know they've overdone it now, and anyone can get a black card and a platinum card. But when they first came out, you were selected. You felt honoured to be part of that, and therefore you felt obliged to actually you're going to sort of spend more. And then once you've got there, we want to create a referral program. So for our members, we create this way to actually ask them to help them actually refer more business to us. Now, if I'm only providing a basic level and expected level of customer service, if I ask for referrals, I'm not going to get them. Okay, people won't refer if you're just getting a basic or expected level of customer service. If they're getting something special, then they will be quite happy to actually go to their people they know to actually allow them to recommend your services. But what I've found, certainly in professional services, products are generally easier. If I've got a nice product, I'll generally refer more product. So if I've read this book and I want you to read the book, I'll recommend the book. But professional services is a lot harder to get referrals. So we've got to make it as easy as possible to actually get our customers to actually refer work to us or refer other people to us. And there's many ways you can do this. And it does take a lot of thought. It takes a lot of, a bit of trial and error with it, because, not all systems work. I could say one person will have one system and then we'll apply it in another company. It just won't work in their industry with their client base. Even two businesses in the same industry, the same strategy may not always work. Paying people for referrals is sometimes a tough one. It can work. You know, if I give you a £50 referral fee, but to me, it's a little bit lazy. People refer because they want to refer, not necessarily because they're being paid to refer. But for some industries, it does. You know, I know if you're selling on commission, so financiers, things like that, will go to accountants and they'll pay them a commission on referrals. So if it's more of a transactional referral, then it can work. If it's more on an emotional basis, then it doesn't work as much. So what we've got to start thinking is, how do we make it easy for people to want referrals and to bring people, you know, to introduce you to other people? So some of the most successful that we've done over the years are events. So we'd put an event on, we'd give people tickets to that event, and then the clients can come along. So we're actually giving our clients something for nothing. And then we'd invite them to bring another guest along. So bring a guest to come and see this. Yeah, find somebody who would be interested in the same as you are in our business sector. So that can be one way of doing it. Depends again what you're selling, but it could be, you know, samples and tasters of what you do. But make it easy for them to refer. Make it sort of so it's like a no-brainer. Do 90% of the work for them. All they need to do is either give you a name and address, yeah, or just pass over what you're actually giving to them. So really be creative with this, and we've got to sort of almost sit down and plan this out as to what is it going to be a referral. There's I think Brad has done a book, Instant Referrals, and in there he's got half a dozen or so different strategies of actually how to get, you know, set up referral schemes, from basic sort of, you know, we'll give you 10% and the customer 10%, through to more complex schemes. But really think about what could be in that. So that takes us to sort of getting more business in. The other thing that we've got to start thinking is, for our existing clients, we don't discount. I'd rather not discount for any clients, even new clients. I'd rather not give a discount. But for some marketing strategies, it's an easy, quick way to actually buy a customer. You know, so if I say 50% off on your first purchase, then if that is going to attract that first buyer at the shopper level to come in to taste what we do, I will accept that. I don't like it because it's basically 50% of our profit, or 50% of our sales, in profit that comes off our bottom line. If you are going to do it, you've got to know your numbers. Okay, you've got to know how your sales value and your GPs relate to your discounting. If you can stop it, then this little formula here will just show you what you're giving away. So let's say that you're a business with a 30% gross profit. Okay, so current margin, 30% margin. If you give a 10% discount, you have to sell 50% more in order to recover that 10% discount. Okay, so just run that past. If you've got a business that has a 30% margin, so your cost of sales are 70% and your gross profit is 30%, and you give a 10% discount, you have to sell 50% more to make the same amount of money. Okay, now let me see, sometimes that's hard to get your head around. You know, a 10% discount, I have to sell 50% more in order to have the same profit. So let me just show you that as an example. So if I sell 10 units at £10 a unit, I make £100 sale, and my cost is £7 per unit. Total cost of 70 is my 30 margin. If I give a 10% discount, the units stay the same. The discount goes from 10 to 9, so I make £90. My cost stays the same, at 70, so I make £20 on it. So in order to make £30, I've got to sell 15 units at £9, and a cost per unit of 7, it was 105, gives me my 30. So this is why discounting on a profit, just a straight reduction in price should be treated with extreme caution. Okay, I'm saying you can't use it. What I'm saying is really think about when you do use it, because it is just a way of actually losing money. And certainly for existing customers, we should not use it at all. I don't think we should use it at all, because they've already bought from you, they've already got the loyalty. Why do you need to keep giving margin up in order to achieve that? Now, there are some businesses that have built their entire business model on doing this discounting. Yeah, if you think about DHF, DFS, the sofa guys. Yeah, they've always got a sale. They're always discounting their prices down. But do you know how they manage to do that and still be a profitable business?
Their margin's really high in the first place.
Yeah, they put their prices up before they discount them. Okay, so in this case, they know that, so they know that they're working on a 20% margin. Yeah, so therefore they put their prices up and then they discount them back down. So if you are going to do it, then that is a way you can get around the system, but it's still, a lot of people see through it in the end, because they'll only ever buy from you when you're in a sale, because they know that's the true value of what you're selling. So if we're trying to avoid this, then what we've got to think about is, are there better ways to actually achieve this? So if I'm giving up 10% of my profit here, so I'm going from 30 to 20, I'm giving up £10, could I actually give more value for less cost? Okay, so can I give him more value for less cost? So if I gave an extra 10% in volume away rather than price, yeah, that, and it straight away is going to cost me £7, not £10. So if I gave one extra unit at a cost of 7 rather than discounting for 10, yeah, therefore I would actually make, it's still a discount, but I'm actually giving £10 of value because it's £10 extra, but I'm only losing £7 of cost. So when you go into the supermarkets and you see bog offs, buy one get one free, yeah, those are based on the supermarket's decision that over time they've stopped discounting and they're doing the meal deals, they're doing added value deals, buy more, get more value. And it was a good one, because we used to supply Marks and Spencer's back 20 odd years ago in cut flowers. When the supermarkets did a lot of discounting, they would give 20% off, they were giving money away, and you've seen over the years how they've changed now, that Marks and Spencer's very rarely now knock money off. You don't get the cash discounts that you used to. What they do is give you offers, 3 for 2, yeah, because you get more perceived value for less cost to them. So if we are doing discounting, we think that's a good way to get customers to come back and buy more, build it into packages rather than actually straight money off, because you'll be able to give more away and it will cost you less. But what we want to do, if we want to get more out of our existing clients, we actually want to increase our prices. Okay, now this is a bit of a scary one for a lot of people when I say, the first strategy we're going to do is going to put your prices up, because what happens with that one is, if I increase the prices, there is a fear. Yeah, and what is that fear? So if I was to increase my prices by 10%, what is my fear? Ranjit, what's my fear if I put my prices up?
That you'll lose your customers.
I'll lose my customers. Okay, I put my prices up and all my customers are going to go. Now, the problem with fear, or the good thing with fear, is generally false expectations appearing real. That's what it stands for. So we perceive that if I put my prices up by 10%, I'm going to lose all my customers. And therefore, I never do it. But the reality, the same with the discounting, is if I put my prices up by 10%, okay, so if I put my prices up by 10%, and I've got this 30% margin, I could lose 25% of my customers and still make the same amount of money. Okay, put my prices up by 10% with a 30% margin, I could lose 25% of my customers. And I like that look, Darren, because that's that disbelieving look saying WTF. So let me show you that in numbers again. Okay, so this is what we had before: 10 units, £10, £100, £7 cost unit, £70, £30 margin. If I put my prices up by 10%, I make 110. So my cost of sales doesn't go up at all. They still cost me 70. I now make £40. So if I would have to lose 2.5 units the same price to make the same amount of money. So that's a 25% less in volume. And this is the reality of this, is we have this fear that if I put my prices up, I'm going to lose my customers. I've been doing this for 15 odd years. The most, guess what percentage, the most we've ever lost in customers through a 10% increase in price? The most percentage customer loss that we've ever had. 5%. That's pretty close, but a bit high.
2%.
2%. That's the highest we've ever lost. And the thing with that is we then did a study of the 2% we lost. And if I go back to my A, B, C, D grade clients, where was that 2% mainly based? 90% of that 2% was based in one of those A, B, C, Ds, in the C's and Ds. The people that always whinged about the prices, always wanted more, didn't actually value what we actually did. In one case, we increased prices, and some of the customers came back and said, you know, thank God you've done that. Yeah, I was really worried that you were selling it so cheap that you wouldn't be here in a year's time for me to keep on buying from you. So we've got to, you know, and I'm not saying we go out tomorrow and just increase prices willy-nilly right across the board, but what we can do is we can look at particular product lines, particular service lines, particular customer bases, you know, but in the essence, if we can work on increasing the prices on a regular basis, then we can actually drive more cash to the bottom line, because that's the beauty. It's the easiest profit generating strategy you'll ever come up across, because you put 10% on your prices, that 10% goes straight to your bottom line. There's no cost associated with it, no time, no effort, apart from communicating to your customers that your price is going to go up. Okay, and I've saved businesses just by doing that one strategy, because when we do it, the reality is we lose far less than the 25% of customers that these numbers would show that you would need to do. So this is another sort of factor why we have to know our numbers in our business. We cannot play the game of business unless we really know, you know, our 5 ways, our leads, our conversion rates, our average transaction values, our number of transactions, and our margins. If you don't know these numbers, then playing these sorts of games and increasing, you know, like this, it can be dangerous. But it's not so much it's dangerous, you'll just be so fearful of doing it because you won't understand how it all works. And price, you know, is often, we assume that it's the reason why people don't buy from us. And in some cases, it certainly is, but in many cases, the buying decision is emotion backed up by logic.
And they know.
There's an emotion associated with every purchase, and there's a logical reason that backs it up. And price is one of those that backs up that emotion. And if you think about buying cars, is just a classic way to to show this. If I just want to get from A to B, and that's all I'm interested in, how much am I going to spend on a car, Brian? How much am I going to spend on a car if all I want to get to is go from A to B?
Well, I'd probably, if I was only going from A to B, not worried about the car at all, I'll probably just go for a second-hand one for like 400 or 500 quid.
Yeah, 500 quid for a car that gets me to A to B. Yeah, and if it breaks down, I'll just get another car.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if I've got to transport my kids in that car to school every day, am I actually gonna spend 500 quid?
No, you probably spend a bit more than that.
Yeah. So what am I now looking for if I want to move my kids?
Something that's not as old, still probably second-hand, second-hand car, but not as old, so it's a bit younger, more reliable. Yeah.
Okay, a bit more reliable, a bit more safety conscious.
Yep.
If I'm buying it for work, if I'm a young sort of mid-late 20s, in a good career, what are now my buying factors?
Needs to look good. Needs to have give you the right image.
Yeah, it's going to be about image, isn't it? It's going to be about image and ego. So now I'm going to pay more for that image and ego. So understanding our client base, understanding what is making them buy is key to all of this. The more we understand our customer base, the more we understand their emotions, the reasons why they're buying, the emotions versus the logic, the more we can go back to that, expected, desired, surprising, amazing. And if we can deliver amazing at a reasonable price, then we're going to have a business that is just people are going to keep coming back, buying more and more and more, and recommending us more and more and more. But it takes time and effort to do that, because that, if we go back, let me just go back to where we were. We go back to here. This looks like steps, but it's actually an escalator. So this is always going down. Okay, this is always going down. So this year's sort of desired is next year's expected. So you see that a lot of times where people sort of set you up, they give you great service, and then you sort of expect it next year, so it needs to be bigger. It needs to be bigger and better. So if you're going to play this game, you have to understand that, and you've got to keep reinventing yourself, keep moving yourself forwards, and that's what Ron did with Singapore Airlines. He continually pushed and pushed and pushed. Well, what's next? What's next? What's next? What's the next thing we're going to do that's going to be surprising to our customers? I think they were not the first in first class to actually, do the chauffeur service, to go and pick your client up from home, take them to the airport, give them a separate lounge. First ones to put showers in the aeroplanes. There's a constant drive for this sort of, desired and surprising. But you can only do that if you're profitable, if you're making money that you can then reinvest back into this. If you're playing down at this level, you can't do this. You're stuck in a price competition world. Which say you can play the game down there, but you know, I've played the game down there when we supplied supermarkets, and it ain't very nice. It's hard work, and there's you know, there isn't much profit to reinvent yourself, and eventually, as we found out, you know, you run out of cash, you run out of energy, and then, you know, you're not in the game anymore. So really think about, you know, where can we put the prices up? We're not going to get as big a loss as this. You know, again, if we come back to here, you know, this little calculation, if you want to run it, you know, you can sort of see different margins here, what effect it has on the percentages. But it's certainly, you know, the quickest and easiest way to make money in your business is, you know, is to put your prices up and stop. If you can do both, put prices up and stop discounting, then that's ideal. So the next thing then is, how do we upsell and cross-sell? So what we're looking for here is, you know, in order to sell more, we've got to make our customers aware of our product list, okay, of what we actually sell. Because if they're not aware of it, then it's very difficult for them to buy more. And I'm going to just move this one forward. This is a little tool that we use, which is really nice to make this happen. We call it a magic matrix. So what this magic matrix does is you put your customers down the side. Now, again, this is why you've got to have done the A, B, C, Ds. I'd only do this for my A's and B's, really, because the C's and D's, I'm not really going to spend any time and effort marketing to. And I want to then put my products and services along the top. And then I identify what they've actually bought, what they're not aware of, and what they're aware of. So anything in the red here, I've got to now market. I've got to educate and communicate to my customers as to what these things are. Okay, and help them to understand that they're going to buy from that. And we see this a lot of times when we come into customers. They buy one of these. We go and tell them we actually do these services. Oh, I didn't know you did that. Oh, that's great. You know, I've been buying this from other people for the last 10 years because I didn't know you actually did that. So we assume that they know it, but as we all know with assume, it makes an ass out of you and me. So this little magic matrix here allows us to understand what we need to resell to our customers, you know, what we need to communicate to them. And how we do that can be through newsletters, okay, emails, okay, networking with our customers, inviting our customers to events, talking to them, educating them continually, sending them something through the post. I got something the other day. You know, there's a little, I don't know if you can see that, a little box. Oops. Oh, I've just dropped it. Oh, box gone. There's a nice little box here. So you open it up, and then inside that was a little tin of sweets. Yeah, and put it here as well. There's a little card. So there's a little pamphlet here with all the services that are offered on each page, and a little covering note that's nicely folded up that goes in. And I thought that's a really good way to A, get my attention, yeah, B, for me to then look at it. You know, there's a bit of a law of reciprocity. If I give you something, you feel obliged to give me something. So give me some sweets. So, you know, you think, what's that cost? £5, £10, including postage. Yeah. How likely am I now to actually buy from those people again, if it's relevant to what I'm actually doing? And there's another book called oh, it's going out my head now. It'll come back to me. All about these critical non-essentials. So it was a dentist in Australia, built his entire practice, never did any marketing outside, only marketed to his existing client base, yeah, and was always driving for referrals. And his whole thing, and this was a dentist that, you know, people tend not to like to go to dentists, but he created an ambience in his dentist practice where, you know, he would have muffins baking. Because when you go into a dentist, what's the first thing you smell?
Kind of surgical gloves.
So, surgical, yeah. That's a really antiseptic smell, don't you? What's the first noise you hear?
Drilling, high-pitched drilling.
Yeah. So how welcoming is that when you go to a dentist? You know, I hate dentists. It goes back to childhood and having my mouth butchered by a psychotic dentist. So I've got this sort of fear when I go in that if I hear that smell and that sound, just puts me on edge. And he knew that. He knew that a lot of his patients were like that. So he made sure that there was sound deadening all the rooms. Yeah, he had really nice, calm music playing. He had fresh coffee on. He had sugar-free cakes that would be in baked, so you could smell the cakes as you went in. And yeah, every year, yeah, he would send birthday cards, you know, thank you notes, all these little things that would come through. And another guy called Joe Girard, he's in the Guinness Book of Records for the world's best car salesperson. The average number of cars sold per year by a salesperson, I think, is something like about 300. Yeah, he was selling 3,000 cars a year, and he would send, you know, his customers a birthday card every year, an anniversary card on the day they bought their car every year. His only strategy was sending cards and small gifts to his clients, because he knew if he kept in touch with the clients on a at least a once every 3 month basis, 3 or 4 times a year, when they came to buy a new car, guess where they would come? When one of their friends asked, you know, who do I buy, you know, who should I buy a car from? Who would he recommend? Who would they recommend? Always came back to him. So keeping in contact with, you know, our clients on a regular basis, and there's a thing called the law of perceived indifference. If you haven't contacted your clients in 3 months, they will perceive that you don't care. So they won't argue about it, they won't chase you or anything, but their perception of you will reduce. It has a half-life of 3 months, so it will reduce every 3 months. So if you haven't contacted a past client for 6 months and somebody else comes along at the point in time where they want to buy your services and says, oh, I do that, yeah, they are going to be more likely now to buy from that person than they will from you, because you haven't spoken to them for 6 months. They'll perceive that you don't care about them, and therefore they'll buy somewhere else. So by keeping in contact with people on a regular basis after they've bought, and so I know, Sophie, for you guys, you got to think about the average time people actually buy from you. So Sophie, how long people sort of wait before they buy a kitchen?
What, a second kitchen?
A second kitchen, yeah.
Yeah, it depends how much they move and whether they're still in the area, but we can have people who come back after sort of a year to 10 to 12 years.
Yeah, so I'd say somewhere the average is probably around about 7 years. You know, some will be quicker, a lot will be longer. So therefore, you know, you've got to play the long game with this. Is, you know, you've got to keep in contact with them for 7 years before they come back and buy again, and that's tough. But if you think about it, what would it cost you? A couple of cards a year, £5–10 a year for 7 years. So it would cost you 70 quid, yeah, in order to make sure that customer comes back to you in 7 years' time.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, if they're getting that stuff, yeah, when they get asked, oh, do you know anyone that does kitchens? Oh yeah, my kitchen company, they've kept in touch with me every year for the past 7 years. Yeah, I would definitely use them. Now, it's always, to me, it's always easier when we're dealing B2C, because the consumer, I think, is easier to inspire and create amazing customer service, but it does not mean it can't be done on a B2B basis. This is just a slightly different tweak on that. We can send Christmas cards, every year you send a Christmas card. My challenge with Christmas cards is, at that point in time, how special is the card you send them at Christmas? How special, Darren, when you get your Christmas cards this year, how special to you is each Christmas card?
They're not really, are they? No. Just go in the recycle bin with all the others.
Yeah. So if you do it, I'm not saying don't do it, but do it differently. Do it something that's a little bit different, something that is a keepsake, something that they will not throw away literally the week they come back after the new year.
Put a message in, or have something in it for them. Yeah,
it's just not a card. I just think, fine, card. But again, it's late to me. If you really are doing it for religious purposes or for whatever, that's fine. But in business to business, this is a commercial reason we're sending cards. So be a bit more creative. Do something. So the last X number of years, we did these little fold calendars. Okay, because we didn't send a card, we sent one of these, because people rarely throw these away, and the idea is they put it on their desk and they keep it for the whole year. So that piece of marketing stays with them for 365 days. This year we're doing wall planners, because everybody needs a wall planner. I know we're all Google-fied these days, but we do wall planners. So what is it you could send out that would actually stay with people for a long time? Now, another one we get, oops. This is one I got from a supplier, which is, the classic. Classic bottle of fizz. Yeah, which is really nice, but I don't like Prosecco. I drink red wine. So it's nice, and I'm grateful for it, but it's not personal to me. So it's not, while they're thinking, that's going to help, Kevin's going to think we're wonderful. I think they're nice, but I'm not thinking they're wonderful because I don't drink Prosecco. I've got bloody tons of it in the garage. Now, if they understood who I was and what I like, then I'm more likely to actually, think that they're special.
But they've given you a teaching point, Kevin, so you're going to remember them.
It's a good point, Damien. I don't think that was their reason for doing it. And it is tough, if you're sending out to hundreds of people to find out what each one does. So sometimes you've got to be a little bit more generic in what you do. But there are ways to work these things out, if you put a bit of time and a bit of effort into it. So really think, how am I going to keep in contact with my existing clients? How am I going to educate them for all the services that I do? And how am I going to get them to refer their contacts to me? Okay, how am I going to ask? How am I going to make it easy for them to refer? Those are the really fundamentally the best ways to actually get people to come back. And then coming back to our cross-sell, upsell, scripts, sales training. If you're into retail, points of display, the reason I've got the McDonald's thing down here was this was a script way to actually sell more. So back, I don't know how many years ago now, probably 20 years ago, McDonald's put into their training a little phrase. Okay, can everybody remember what that little phrase was? So there's a clue. There's a clue here.
Do you want chips with that? Or fries with that?
Do you want fries with that? Okay, that one piece of training in their sort of sales patter improved their profitability by nearly 20%. Why? Because fries are their most profitable line. Their GP on fries outstrips everything else. So they took their most profitable margin product, built in a script that says, do you want fries with that? Yeah, straight to the bottom line. They then took it a next stage further. Do you know what their next stage was?
Meal deal?
The meal deal, yeah.
The super size.
Super size.
Go large.
Do you want to go large? Do you want to go super size? Okay. So that, again, building that in, again, increased their profits, but also caused obesity, and they were then backtracked on that, and they don't do that anymore. But as a sales tool, as a sales script, had a massive impact on their profitability, because again, going from regular to large, that 50p, the margin on going large is tiny, is massive for them. The extra cost is next to nothing. 0.001p on the actual product, the cup, and 0.001p of extra soda. Okay, so you've got to start thinking, what is my version of go large? What is my version of do you want fries with that? Where's my profitable lines? Where's my profitable additions that I can sell, and add into that? Now, if you want to give, again, if you want a discount, goes back. Don't discount, add more value. Add some fries. But I can give you the fries rather than taking a price off, because I know the fries don't actually cost me anything extra. So we've got to be thinking more strategically with our customers. How do I get an extra pound, an extra 10% of more value out of every sale? How do I get my customers to come back more often, spend more every time they come back? And the first, the thing we've really got to understand is, well, what are my baseline numbers now? What is my average transaction value? What is my number of transactions per customer? Break my customers, to do it over all customers is probably too much, is too varied. So break it down in my A grade clients. What's my average transaction value? What's my number of transactions? In my Bs, average transaction, number of transactions. How do I get my Bs to become As? How do I get my Cs to become Bs? Don't waste my time on Ds. And then we've got to look and say, right, once we've built this, we've then got to put our systems and processes in place, systemize it, set the training in place, continual training for ourselves, continual training for our team. And if you look at the top performers, the likes of McDonald's, they've set up McDonald's University. It's in Manchester, so anyone that comes in, all the managers have to do their yards. They go to the university, they learn all of these skills that they're going to need, how to manage people, but more importantly, what the process is. So you go to a McDonald's in Southampton, McDonald's in Hull, McDonald's in Singapore, they're all trained the same way. to deliver the same quality of service. Now, you might argue it's not exceptional service, but they're down at that price point. There's very few that can deliver what they can deliver for a cheaper price. So what is our process when a customer comes in? Are we continuing to deliver that high level of service? How do we do that? What's the process behind that? And another great example that I love my golf, so I went to Celtic Manor, and Celtic Manor hosted the 2010 Ryder Cup. I went there a couple of years later, and the experience you get there is amazing. It really is amazing levels of customer service. You come down a big long drive to a big roundabout, you park the car, straight away the guys come out. They know who you are, so they come up and say, "Hi, Mr. Stansfield, great to see you." And I'm thinking, well, how do they know who I am? Do they just sort of, they knew roughly what time I was arriving, but they must have lots of people arriving. So how do you think they knew who I was? Brian. Oh, Darren, you've unmuted yourself.
That's right. I was going to say ANPR cameras.
ANPR cameras, yep. And
your car, I don't know.
The car, number plate. So when I booked the thing, I had to put in my car registration for parking. So that we can park you, please put your car registration number. So as I'm coming down the drive, that camera comes up, V6 ACA, they know my car details. Therefore they know in that car is Mr. Stansfield, Mr. Frampton, Mr. Fords. So the process of collating data started 6 months ago when I booked it. Yet their guys are trained that when it comes in, all my details were down there. And then the next bit was, "Hi, Mr. Stansfield, great to see you. Just check who's with you and check the names." And then he said, "Well, look, just have a look on there and make sure I've got everybody." And what they'd done was misspelt one of the guys' names, and I couldn't be bothered to change it. I said, "Yeah, that's fine," but I could have changed. You say, "Oh, you've spelt, Frampton wrong." So, and then they said, "Well, we'll take your bags out the car." So they left us. Said, "Look, you come in, go and have a drink in the bar while we sort your cars out, and then we'll show you around." So we go into the bar. They'd laid us on a little drink for free. Okay, so a welcome drink, another surprising thing. I wasn't expecting a free drink when we came in, and then about 5 or 10 minutes they said, "Yeah, right, leave your drinks there. We're going to take you down. We've got your bags down. We'll show you your locker." So we go down the stairs into the locker room. They give us a bit of history about the 2020, and my locker is next door to Tiger Woods' locker. So they've left Tiger Woods use this locker. Well, his locker, he just used it. And Tiger Woods' name is there, and my name is alongside Tiger Woods. Surprising, really special. How does that make me feel? Really good. And going back, because I look for these things now. The guy that they'd misspelt, his name was on his locker, and it'd be misspelt. But if I'd picked it up back then, if I'd said something, then they would have had time, because we'd gone for a drink, to actually change the names when we came into the locker room. In the locker was a little gift set, some teas, some sort of washing bits. Again, cost of those £5 tops, and we'd spent, I think it was about 140 quid for the round of golf. So these things don't have to cost much, but to be honest, it wasn't the little gift set. It was the way we were meted, the way we were greeted, the way we were taken through the whole process that made it feel extra special. And that's why, some 8 years after it happened, I still talk about it. And I would still recommend anyone go and play there. The golf was golf course is all right. It's not, it's a good course. It's not a brilliant course, but the way you're treated is absolutely fantastic. Yeah, I've been to Royal St George's, which is an amazing course, absolutely fantastic, and we were treated like lepers. And we never stayed in, we never stayed for a drink afterwards. We all buggered off. We played the course and we buggered off. Would I go again? I'd go again to play the course, but I wouldn't recommend it. I wouldn't rush to go and play it. So we've got to start thinking, what are we doing in our businesses that is going to create that, systemize it so it's repeated, train the guys so they can actually follow the process, do that, and then you'll get that repeat business. You get more people coming back. You'll sell more often, and drive and hit those sales targets. So, any questions before we go into our home? Well, I've done pretty well actually. So we've
Just
whistled through that.
Kevin.
Yeah, Brian.
What about if you've dropped the ball on that? How to recover, basically.
How to recover. I mean, the good thing is their expectations are quite low, Brian.
Yeah.
So if you haven't been doing this, they don't expect any of this. Now, what I would probably do is I would only bring in things that we can repeat, because the worst thing you can do is suddenly do loads of really good stuff and then drop the ball again. And then they're just going to think, well, who are these people? So I would start small, ramp it up slowly, but make sure we can repeat it on a regular basis.
Yeah, the particular thing I'm thinking right now is I used to do I say the word used to, do a newsletter.
Yeah,
I haven't done one for months.
Newsletters are interesting. The problem with them is a lot of people end up talking about themselves. So we do this, we do this, we do this, we do this, we do this. Most of your customers don't give excuse my French, Sophie, but they don't give a shit what you do.
Yeah.
It's not about you, it's about them. So if you are going to, actually this is recording, isn't it? Apologies to everybody. So they don't care about you. Yeah. If it's relevant to them and their world, then yes, do a newsletter. So if it's got useful stuff that they can read and is a benefit to them, fine, fill your boots. Okay. If it's about you, what you're doing, I wouldn't, newsletter wouldn't be my first way of keeping in touch with people. And certainly if your newsletter is going to be emailed out, because you get emails all the time, I don't know how many emails a day you get through somebody's boring old newsletter all about them. You're not even going to open it up and read it. It'll be just delete, or it'll go to spam. So I would say be careful with newsletters. I'm not saying don't do them. I went back to a paper newsletter a few years ago. I haven't done it this year because of COVID and sending it into offices. I don't think people are going to pick it up. But through that, I've tried very hard to make it very, very customer centric rather than me centric. So it was useful stuff for them rather than for me. And even then, I still think the reading rates were still quite low.
Put champagne in the title.
Free champagne. So I think it does take a little bit of thought. Certainly if you've done nothing, what would be the first thing to do? Yeah, again, first thing to do was A to D grade your clients. Do something for the A grade clients first. Okay, something that's worth spending a bit of money in that is relevant to them. Okay, now because it's it's a little bit late for Christmas now because you've got to get something out for next week. It might be something good for Christmas, but even perhaps for the new year. So if you send a New Year card, how many New Year cards did you get last year, Damien?
None.
None. Okay, so if you got a New Year card from Brian, would it stand out?
I'd be over the moon.
Yeah, there you go.
I'll send you
looking
one,
forward-
Damien.
I'm looking forward to it, Brian.
Oh no, I've set your
I'll send you one, Damien.
I've set his expectations too high now. He's not going to be surprised when he gets it. So yeah, so start small, build up, but only do it when you're sure you can repeat it. Okay, and there's no point in doing something and then dropping the ball later. It's almost better not to do something.
It's all right. He can throw me a fly ball and send me a Chinese New Year card.
Good, but a good question, Brian. Thanks. Any other questions?
I think, Kevin, I don't know about the others on this call, but sometimes when you're providing a service, just as a service business, which is what we do, it's difficult to sort of try and get something that you can maybe market. So we had an instance where we had a pest control company that sent us out a box. Now, I didn't know what it was. It was actually sent by mistake. It was sent to our accountants. And we said, that's fine. It's been sent to the registered office.
Yeah.
Feel free to open it. And they opened it, and then there was just this massive shriek from the lady who opened it because she actually thought that the wind-up mice that were inside were real. So but it's a talking point, and as a facility management company, where we do a whole raft of factors or facets, shall we say, it's just difficult to maybe just either focus on one or just get some ideas to put something out there.
I say, look, this is why people discount, why they do nothing, is because it's easier to do those things than it is to do something more unique, because it does take time, it does take thought, and that's often, Darren, I work with, when working with clients, is, Brian, we'll brainstorm this, we'll look at different things, and then we'll come up with something that works. So one client, we talked about this, and they sell bulbs online. So you buy a car bulb, and typical car bulb is about 4 or 5 quid, is their average transaction value. So their cost of acquisition has to be really low if you're only selling 5 quid. But we wanted to get a referral, a client retention and a referral strategy, and this sort of getting people to really critical non-essential, something a little bit different to remind us. So what we did with that was, well, they came to me. I said, look, how much margin have we got? And I mean, they good margin on it. And so I think it was something like we could spend 50p. Okay, now the bulb, we sell it for 3 quid. It costs us 50p. So they came and said, well, why don't we do a buy one get one free with a bulb? I said, well, actually, that's not a bad strategy. Yeah, because rather than discount, it's only going to cost us 50p. The problem with that is if you want to buy one car bulb, Darren, and I send you 2, what do you think?
Well, you can look at it a couple of ways, can't you? Because you should always replace things like that in pairs anyway. So that would, in my head, that would be what I would start off with. Buy one and replace the other for free.
Yep.
But if people don't think like that, what a waste of time or money, or how much does that cost me? That might be the client's perspective, mightn't it?
So I was just going to say, I agree with Darren in the sense that as a professional service, it's not quite as easy to give something away like that for free, in the sense that it's not a product. So no, I kind of get where he's come from. Yeah,
and also, if I give you the same as what you've already bought, it's not that sort of special. It's not that surprising. And we actually did it, and we actually got a few complaints. People sort of saying, "Look, you've sent me two, you know, and I only ordered one."
I do have a practical example of that just today, though. We have a project that we've got where we're doing an overheating assessment on a new building, and it fails miserably. They thought it would fail, and however, we found a strategy for them. We wouldn't normally present it, but we're going to throw in the workings we've done in the background. We're just going to put in our report, and it will demonstrate to their client the problems they've got and how they can solve it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's cost us. Well, it cost us half an hour of extra time writing a report, but they think they're getting lots extra.
Yeah. Great. So if their perceived value is much higher than the cost of delivering it, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
You know, that's what you should be looking for: a perceived value against a low cost. So for these guys, you know, the bulb wasn't really working. So I said, right, look, go away, think of something else that we could do. And they came back, and it was the World Cup at the time, and they found some little chocolate footballs, you know, the little things that will cost 50p. So we put those in, and then we got a few complaints saying, you know, hang on a minute, you've sent me some. I ordered this, and you've sent me some sweets by mistake. So we then said, right, well, we need to do a little printed gift card. So we did that, and it was about 10p. It said, thank you very much for your purchase. But then we turned that into a referral strategy that said, thank you very much. If you give this tag to a friend, we'll give them a first order discount, because it was a new acquisition. It was the easiest way on that one to actually say that we give them I think it was a 20% discount on their first purchase. So not only did we get this sort of, everyone loved the and then we would change the gift. So it was footballs one year, then it changed to something else that was relevant at the time. So they loved that. It was driving social media talk on it. And another client that do scented candles and wax melts, put little tags, little charms, so people collect the charms. So these are little extras that, they're not to do with what you're selling.
Definitely.
They're something different. But B2B, business to business, and certainly business to business services is more difficult. And certainly if you're dealing with big companies that, because we used to do this in with the supermarkets, we used to send hampers, and then they have a policy where they don't accept anything anymore because of the bribery laws and things like that. And it became very, very difficult to do that. And for one of those clients, we couldn't do anything like that, but they had to come and visit different sites. They had to do an audit once a year of the sites that were selling the product that we were selling into them. And they would normally take about a week to drive to each site. And it was a bit of a pain in the arse for them. They whinged and moaned that they were on the motorway the most times and all the traffic. So one year we were pushing for another, I think it was a 50% increase in our volume. And a few months before, we said, right, we can't send you anything. We can't bribe you, though we wanted to sort of impress you. So we basically hired a helicopter, picked them up from about a mile away from their house. So they drove to a park where the helicopter was. They got into a helicopter in front of all of their family and friends. We flew them down to Kent to see a farm down there. We then flew them down to Chichester, where we were, to see ours. And then they had to go down to Devon and then to Cornwall. Now, on the way, that we wanted to stop for lunch. Now, again, we can't bribe them. We can't sort of take them to nice places. But there's a bit of a problem when you're traveling by helicopter. That there aren't many places you can stop for lunch with a helicopter. Now, there is one place between here and Devon. Do you know what that place is?
Is it a golf course by any chance?
No, it's a bit nicer than a golf course.
I'm guessing you didn't take him to a hospital.
No, no, it's the Chewton Glen. down in New Milton. So it has a helipad outside the front of the hotel. So we basically landed the helicopter there. They all got out, took them into the Chewton Glen for lunch, you know, which is an extremely nice lunch, with a bit of wine because they're not driving because they're in a helicopter, and then back in and off they went. And that cost us, I think it was about $4.5 grand, something like that. We got a good deal on the helicopter, but it was around about $5 grand. Yeah, and on the back of that really secured us that business for another 2-3 years. We wanted a 15%. We were 15% more expensive than the competition because they were importing, and we were more expensive, and it got us another X number of new lines in. Because emotionally, you know, were they going to buy from somebody else? No. Now, we still had to be the right price and quality, all of those things, but that little bit extra, you know, in that sort of B2B, the fact that we did something as part of the process, but just stood out. Yes, it took more thought. Yes, it cost a bit of money, but I reckon that got us another £2.5 million of business over the next few years for an investment of £5 grand. So, yes, it is more difficult. Yes, you have to think about it. Yes, you have to bounce ideas off. But if you put the effort into it, yeah, and that's why I said, average transaction value, number of transaction, doesn't cost you much money, but what it does cost you is time. Sales and marketing, generally, you have to throw money at it, but it doesn't take as much time. And this is always the trade in business. It's either time or money or time. And you've got to decide which one you're going to invest the most of. But you'd only do that for an a really A grade client. And it helps when you've only got one client, as we had at that time. It was, you know, that was our A grade client. So all of our marketing budget went into that one client. So. Good. So home fun, identify your A to D grade clients, really review your prices, you know, think about discounting, stop it if you can, increase your prices if you can, and then really think about this loyalty scheme. What's your VIP club? How are you going to keep in contact? How are you going to improve people up into that, at least into membership level where they feel they're part of your community? And keep in touch with them over as long a period as possible, so that when they do want to buy again, they come back to you. So good. So just to finish up, then we've got a couple of minutes. Ranjit, what's your top takeaway? And did I hit your requirements from the start? So upselling services, and what are you going to do as a result?
Yeah, definitely. I am going to go back and review the A and B customers. I think there's something that I need to do to keep them happier. Yeah, rather than focusing on new customers or just solely focusing on new customers, need to focus a little bit more on those guys. Done some quick calcs as well, so it's pretty clear what they're bringing in, and I'm really not doing much to maintain the relationship there.
Cool. I mean, if you spend all your time and money on new business and not on existing, it's like filling your bathtub with a plug left out.
Yeah.
You know, you're just wasting. You know, you've got to be doing both. I'm not saying, you know, if time and money is limited, I would always say spend it on your existing clients first because it's easier. But you really should be doing both sets. So cool, good, thank you, Darren. What about you? What's your biggest learning from today, and what are you going to do as a result?
Yeah, similar to Ranjit, really. You know, we've got a set of clients. I've got somebody on a telesales side of things that are trying to bring in new business. That's basically all she was employed for, which has worked. But obviously this year's been a bit of a write-off, really, from trying to bring in new clients in our industry, in our lines. In saying that, you know, the calls that she has made has created a few, and they are only a few clients, but already that a couple of those that have come out of that have sort of jumped into I'd say they're probably the B grade clients, and we have we've secured some nice work from a couple of those clients. So yeah, it's just trying for us. It's trying to get a balance of the old and the new, really. I suppose old clients and new clients. When you've done a sort of full master plan for the shall we say the old client, and you've got a sort of a loose system as to where they're going and when they want to get these sort of bigger projects in, and you've got it on sort of a budget on a year by year basis. It's just trying to keep that hopper filled up so that those jobs are popping out at the bottom.
Yeah. So it really is, and that's why with all our clients, Ranjit, Brian, Damien, and Sophie's guys, we work to 90-day plans. So what are the goals that we want to achieve? Break it down. What's the strategies, and then implement those strategies over the next 90 days. A lot of these things they're not quick fixes. They take time to build, but they're like spinning plates. You get a plate spinning, you get another one, you go back. You're constantly test and measuring it to move it forward. So cool. Good. Brian, what about you? What's your biggest takeaway, and what are you going to do as a result?
Again, it's very much the same as what Ranjit was saying. Really, is really concentrate on working out who my A and B clients are. I have an idea, but it's actually going back to what you said earlier on. What's their value?
Yeah.
So it's working all of that out, I think, really, rather than just going, oh yeah, X is an A client because they refer to me. But how much are they actually worth, monetary wise? Yeah. Because some of the person I'm thinking in my head right now is some of the work she has done is low value, but she refers her clients to me, which is higher value. Yeah. So to me, she becomes an A client rather than a B or a C.
Yeah. If her client base is, got more of your A grade clients, then she's an A grade on that basis.
Yeah.
So
that's
cool. Good.
Yeah.
Damien?
Yeah, no, some very interesting stuff in there. And I've been thinking about my clients, and probably much like Brian, I've got clients that are A grade for very different reasons. So like one client I've got, probably my biggest client, they give me a strong, steady stream of work at a medium margin.
Yeah.
Whereas I've got another client who gives me work few and far between, but a very high margin. But they have they want a project done, and they want it done then, and it's how high will you jump, and they pretty much don't care how much they pay for it.
Right.
So well, not this year because they're predominantly in office refurbishments, and with COVID they've been kind of fallen back. But previously I've got the same turnover out of them for a quarter of the workload.
Yeah.
So they're both very much A grade clients. And then kind of interestingly, you're talking about Christmas cards. I don't normally do that. Normally I send a bottle of something to like the directors, and then I send like industrial sized tubs of celebrations to the companies, so that everybody gets something, if you know what I mean, rather than that. But however, with COVID, I didn't think that was appropriate. So I'm sending out Christmas cards. However, I'm going to give Claire a budget for next year, and I think it also ties two things in. She's very creative, so I'm going to give her an opportunity over the next 6 months to think about something different for next year.
Yeah, and say do it at a different time than Christmas, because we've all been there, and the 15th box of quality street, you know, isn't that exciting.
Oh, trust me, the boxes of celebrations I send, they
Oh, right.
mark. They're like 5 kilo boxes.
Oh, right. Something to bathe in.
Yeah. But no, so yeah, and there's been some really interesting points in there. So
look, as long as there's a thought behind it and there's a strategy behind it, it doesn't matter. It's not, you know, but it's when people just do it because they feel they should do it, and
yeah,
or because they've always done it. That's when I would question it. Is, look, this is B2B. There's a strategy behind it, you know, and it's just lazy not to think about it and do it better.
I don't know. Off the top of my head, I'm thinking, being low carbon consultants, we might send people an adopted tree certificate or something, so that it kind of ties in with what we do. If you know what I mean, we paid for a tree to be planted in your name.
Yeah, look, again, you know, I wouldn't. I mean, if somebody did that to me, I wouldn't. You know, I wouldn't think that was brilliant. I think the one thing I did like, you could send a little a pot with a seed in it, and you can grow your own tree.
Yeah.
It's tangible, it's physical, it's there in front of me, you know, whereas other things that aren't tangible and I can't see it regularly, then it's done, it's gone.
No, I get what you mean. I was just trying to think off the top of my head something that tied in a bit of my business into something that's tangible, rather than me sending out a calendar, which obviously is a material that then has to be recycled, etc. I'm not necessarily sure how that ties in with the business. Yeah,
but that's where you have the fun with it. Is how can I have it that's relevant to what I do?
Yep.
But for me, the criteria is always, is it going to be in front of them for as long a period as possible?
Yeah, no, I completely get that.
Yeah, cool, excellent, good. Sophie?
Yeah, so it's really interesting. I'm joining this at the point just before I joined the Myers Touch. So I'm coming from a lower value kitchen place into a much higher value. So it's been really interesting to think about how to kind of nurture those relationships long term, because referrals are so important. So yeah, it's just I've got lots of ideas, but it'll also be interesting. I know that the Myers Touch have a marketing manager, marketing strategies, but they've also lost a couple. Well, they've lost a key member of the design team, and they've got someone else on maternity leave. So it'll be interesting to know sort of how they capture data from their clients and how I can kind of find my foot in the door and kind of use that to introduce myself.
Yeah. And then look, the Myers have been very good with this. You know, we started the dinner clubs. So again, for those guys, you buy a kitchen on average every 7 years, so it could be 10 plus years. How do we keep in touch with people? Well, we set up a dinner club where people can come, and we bring in Master Chef winners to actually cook for them. This is pre-COVID, obviously. And we can keep in touch with people, and then we'd say, look, bring a friend, bring somebody that might be looking to buy a kitchen. These are just sort of subtle ways to do this that don't cost too much money, but maintain our relationship with our clients so that there's a better chance of them coming back to us.
Yeah, fair.
Cool, excellent. Well, look, guys, been a pleasure. Great to have you on. Darren, I'll catch up with you probably in the new year, and I'm probably got a lot of things running up to Christmas, but it'd be good to sort of see where you are, your plans for 2021. And for those on the group coaching, I'll see you next Thursday for our last one of the year. And Sophie, I look forward to seeing you in a few more workshops going forwards.
Likewise, thank you.
Fabulous. You take care then, guys. Have a great day. Bye for now.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks very much. Thanks. Bye.